Hello, Moviesflics here. Today I am going to explain a fictional American drama film called Wendy. The robbers go ahead. Be careful and take care. The film begins at the Darling restaurant run by a middle-aged woman named Angela Darling. He has 3 children, 2 twin sons, James and Douglas, and a young daughter, Wendy. Their dinner sits next to a railway track in rural South and is always crowded, people. It's a fun and vibrant place where everyone loves little Wendy. One day, a boy named Thomas Marshall is in a restaurant enjoying a meal on his 7th birthday. Her grandmother joked that when he grows up he will be a cleaner. Thomas retaliates, he becomes a criminal, but the elders just laugh at him. He is overcome with emotion, he goes out, when no one is watching. Little Wendy, younger than Thomas, crawls straight, window and watch as he rides the moving train. Looks like there's another child in that train with him, his face is not clearly visible. Time goes by and Wendy grows up but never forget what he saw that day. He has many thoughts over time and often writes his own bedtime stories about adventures. When he was just 9 years old, he was on the move and still is. You are willing to risk the adrenaline rush. As Wendy helps her mother and brothers for dinner, we see a notice on the board that Thomas disappeared at the age of 7 and never found, along with another 13-year-old boy. Indicating that children often get lost in the middle city. Wendy is quiet and different from her brothers, who are always dancing, singing, and making noise. Still, the 4 of them are a happy family. One night, at the boys' request, their mother tells them a story before going to bed about her health. He says, he was insane at a young age and had dreams and aspirations that people made fun of him. He once rode into California and stole cars on his way. Wendy is fascinated again, asked him what his dreams are now. Angela responds that she wants to take care of her children. He adds, as people grow older and things change, their dreams also change. It makes Wendy sad because she doesn't want to give up on her dream of getting into so many parties again. He does not want to grow old again. The day after school, children go to the trenches to fish. James and Douglas are busy while Wendy runs toward the railroad tracks. They saw the train and rushed off behind it in the hope of riding it as Thomas did years ago. But he falls into a trap. While returning home, he remembers his brother's words, "Your life will pass away and nothing will ever happen." At night, everyone is asleep, but Wendy is busy making stories about the stars. Suddenly, a strange red light passes through the window and the sound of a train approaching. It makes sense. She looked out the window and saw a boy playing running over something moving, train. It was a little boy named Peter, who was with Thomas when he disappeared. Wendy wakes her brothers up from the window and watches. The boys followed him behind but could not stop him before he jumped on the train. They also rode after their sister. Wendy spreads her arms, feeling relaxed for the first time. Then, they approached a laughing Peter. The boys asked him what their position was, but Peter replies that there are no stops because this is a trip. In the morning, Peter is telling the story, Wendy, that the world is endless. It always goes beyond restaurants and houses. As they approach the river, Peter asks them to line up at a railway station. Kids do it. He asked nothing and cried out in fear as they pushed him into the river. Peter jumps behind them and unloaded the baby in the boat. They all get into a boat and sail away. At sea, they finally reached a volcanic island. A fish-like creature from the sea does noise, Peter says, is the adoptive mother. Seeing a magical island, Wendy remembers a voice in his head that used to beg him to sneak out at night. You think that sounds, he has been coming to the island all this time. Volcanoes emit smoke from space, spirit, indicating the magical charge of space. Peter runs into the woods with his friend, which makes their siblings follow them. On the way, startled by the smoke coming out of the ground. A short time later, they met a boy their age singing a great volcanic song. Wendy joins him just outside. Peter goes to them and says that their singing was hopeless. He meditates and acts with his hands, stirring up the volcano. Some are running, far from fear and joy. Suddenly a little boy appeared on the way to Wendy's house and saw her, like Thomas. Although he was older than she was when he ran away, she does not seem to be older one day. When questioned, Thomas says he is a Blackbeard and runs away. At night, children play and laugh next to their confused siblings. Eventually, they join the others, start singing the same song from the beginning. When they get up the next morning, Peter is there, looking at the sea saying he was talking to my mother. Later, he and Wendy jumped into a ditch, down and reached the ditch. Peter takes him outside, and shows him to his mother. It turns out to be an island spirit in the form of a giant fish that spreads a golden glow, wherever he went. Peter explains that when the first child laughs, for the first time, his mother stood up on the face of the earth in the middle of the earth to look at them. He met Buzzo and agreed, help them. He rides James on a donkey and takes both of them to an adult place. This is it, a place where all the children who have become adults live. Everyone present holds it again, confusing fish Wendy. He asks what they are doing to find out if they are eating. The mother will bring the adults back to their childhood, so they try to hold her. James' arm is now wrapped in cloth and has stopped bleeding. To rest, he and Wendy went to an abandoned place, diner, with other adults. There was silence in the room until Wendy asked everyone to come. Their childhood spirits are back even when they are older. She dances, urging others to do the same. Eventually, they all get together and dance with the exception of James, who is still extremely depressed. Disappointed, Wendy followed behind. James goes to the fishing grounds and finds the nets are ready. Some adults saw this and decided to make him their leader because he knew fishing method. James comes up with another plan to catch Mom. He proposes that they be captured, children, which will make the mother come to them herself. Wendy retaliates, but others love it. They began preparing to kidnap the children while Wendy ran back into the woods to warn them. But the adults come before him and take all the children. One, who was able to hide and save Peter. Wendy joins him and they both watch the adults ride the manana boat and board the children. Wendy sees a man with only one arm bending the hook. It turned out that the man was an elderly James. After them sailing, Peter begs Wendy to come with him and save their friends. They jumped into the sea and then into the ditch. There, Peter tells Wendy about his family back home. Wendy wanders across the ditch to find Douglas alive and well. The two reunited and went to look for their friends in a rowboat. Do not look at anyone at the table. All three boarded a boat and tried to free the children, but the elders caught them and take them to their leader, Jacob. He has grown old and now has a hook in the area, in his missing arm. James and Douglas are both surprised to see each other. James is crazy by staying young when he was older. While Douglas refused to believe that James was his brother, suddenly my mother's voice was heard. Adults are all preparing to hunt him down while the children, I begged them to stop. He untied himself and threw himself into the water to get his mother out of the net, but it was too late as James hit him with a harp and badly injured him. The light of gold from the mother's body it separates and goes down to the sea. James knows he got a piece of meat from his mother's body but refused to eat it in the end. Peter wept in vain about the loss of Mom and Wendy comforting her with a hug. She is worried about what she will do now, grow old and die. Now, it makes even adults feel bad about the child. Wendy reassures them all that they are theirs. The story is good, and the bigger they get, the more they can create more stories. They can remarry, have children who will have their own stories. Therefore, they should not be discouraged. He made everyone start singing this music again. As their singing grows louder, Peter becomes more and more prominent. It is inspired, and the volcano erupts again. Wendy and Douglas decided it was time to go home. Realizing that he will not be able to go home, James bids farewell to his twin brother. He then changed his name to Captain Hook and regularly played with Peter as his new enemy, Therefore he allowed him to live all his days with the spirit of a child. In the last post, Wendy states that she, Douglas, and the other children have returned, at home with their families. They have many adventures as they grow up. They dance and sing, and be happy even as adults. Many years later, Wendy is still the mother of her own daughter. He tells the story of Peter and the island to him as a story before bed. At night Wendy is asleep, her daughter jumps on the train with Peter. Wendy runs after him, but he can't catch them. Then she watched them smile, knowing that her daughter was in good hands, and ready for his journey. Subscribe to more videos like this, open the notification, and leave a comment to help the channel exit. Thanks for watching.